Hello, this is Lady B, and it's that time of year again where small children will run around with bags and sacks and baskets looking for candy. No, it's not Halloween, it's Easter, or almost Easter. And the candy they look for is usually found in something like this. Little, inexpensive plastic eggs that are made in all these brilliant, vibrant colors. Some people use these along with the boiled eggs that have been dyed. Some people don't do boiled eggs at all. Maybe it's because you're vegan, or maybe it's because you're like my family and had more than 1 year where not all the eggs were found until someone mowed the lawn a week or 2 or 3 later, whereupon a now quite rotten egg got spread across the lawn in little teeny pieces, which after that happened a few times, we decided plastic eggs were great too. Whatever the reason, half of the fun of Easter eggs is painting them. So what if you want to use the plastic eggs instead? Well, Christina McConnell last year did an activity where she took this very type of egg and painted them in such a way that they worked like Easter eggs, where you could paint them. And she's amazing. If you're not familiar with her, I suggest going over to Patreon and checking her out. She has a great entire video where she goes through the entire process, where she figures out how to do this. It's so much fun to watch. And I watched it last year, and I thought, I have to try that. So here we are a year later, and now it's my turn. So the very first thing you need to do when you want to prepare your eggs is the day before you have to prime them. You have to get a prime coat of paint on these that you can then paint on top of. Now, so that paint will stick, you have to sand them. And you can see how shiny these eggs are. And that shininess is because they're so slick. The surface is just so smooth. Paint has a difficult time sticking to this unless you use a paint that bonds to plastic, and even then they will scratch easily. So to prevent that, sand it first. Use just a very fine sandpaper, and you just go over the entire surface until there's no more shininess. It's not very hard, just takes a little time. Once you've sanded them, you can prime them, but the question is how. You can't just set it on a surface. It's going to roll around as you try to paint it. Well, the answer is the little holes. These eggs come with holes on the ends. You can see there's 2 on this end and 2 on this end. Now, I suspect that's to prevent you from getting vacuums, making it really difficult to open. I've had eggs that do not have the holes, and sometimes they're really hard to open them up. So I think that's why they started adding the holes. But these holes are just the right size for a toothpick. So yesterday, I took a dozen of these, and I used 2 toothpicks per end and stuck it in some cardboard that I was going to be throwing away anyway, and used it to raise up my egg off the surface and hold it still so I could spray paint it. Now, it took 2 coats. I ended up having to do it once this way, and then turning them over and putting them through the other 2 holes and doing it this way. And I don't know, maybe Christina's more talented than I was. I just was not able to get complete coverage without doing that. So it did take 2 coats. Now, Christina, again, was wanting to make them look like real eggs. So she used first a Krylon textured sandstone spray paint to give it that texture, because real eggs are not smooth at all. They do have a texture to them. And then she followed that with 2 coats of a chalky white paint. Now, when it came time for me to paint it, I was looking at my eggs and my paints, and I thought, I'm going to be painting it anyway. Why am I going to paint it white? Why not paint it black? So I did. And this is the paint I used. I went out and bought this spray can. It's a flat black that has a 2-in-1 paint and primer. And if you don't get the 2-in-1 paint and primer, you may have to do more than 2 coats. But because I did this, I only took the 2 coats, one on each side, and I got this beautiful result right here. These are my dozen black eggs. I even painted my carton to match. So once you have it like this, and you let it cure overnight, the next day you're ready to paint. You can see here that I'm set up for painting. I have a paper down to protect my surface, my palette, my paints, my water for cleaning my brush, paper towel, my eggs, and of course I have paints. Now you need to use acrylic paints for this. If you're going to be painting with children, I suggest using ones like this. These are multi-purpose, safe, and non-toxic, water-soluble. They clean up really quite easily. But whether you're using these ones intended for children or these ones which are for adults, if you're going to be using these pretty colorful paints, you will want to have painted your eggs white, not black. So you might ask yourself, why did I paint them black? Well, let me tell you. It is because my godchildren, who these eggs are for, have a fascination with spiders. And we bought this Halloween decoration skeleton spider for Halloween, and it never got put away because they could not stop playing with it. In fact, they loved it so much, we had to go out and buy a second one just so they would stop fighting over who got to play with the skeleton spider. So I'm actually doing a spider-themed set here for my godchildren who love spiders. In fact, it is their opinion that Lucas the spider, if you've ever seen the videos of him on YouTube, is the most adorable spider in existence, and I cannot disagree. But because of this, the colors I will be using are white. This is actually an antique parchment white. Black for touch-ups. A silver. And gold. I obviously use a lot more gold than the other colors. That's why I have such a large one. So, to paint now. So I have here my white paint. And this white paint shows up very well against the black. And I'm going to do varieties of spiders and spider webs on these. Very simply by making lines on my eggs and then drawing the little zaggy webs between them. Now, I'm only going to be painting half at a time because even though this dries very quickly, I need to be able to set it in my carton. That's what this carton is here for. And in order to dry in between doing the eggs. So I'll do one half of the eggs, then I will flip them over and do the other half of the eggs. Just like so. And it's finished. My carton of spider and spider web eggs. You can see I have the spider webs here, my wolf spiders with smaller webs, and my black widow spider eggs, all of which go with my godchildren's favorite toy. Now, I love you all, whether new or old. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next week. Until then, whether making spooky Easter eggs or colorful ones, whatever it is you do this Easter season, just remember, don't be afraid to suit yourself and make whatever it is you do exclusively you. I know I certainly did.